fries. What's up, everyone? Hopping on, grab some Do-Right donuts. Q2 is shaping out well. On target, which is good. In cloud, you don't hit you don't hit accelerators until you're past your yearly quota, though. Week 5 of the internship. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know we were supposed to set up time. How's it going? Best way to get into tech at the entry level. Yeah, best way is you're going to look at my playlist. Get into Tech Sales playlist. It's free. All free info. A bunch of TikToks that I have. It's on my profile. And you need to build up your resume and your LinkedIn profile. And the entry level role that you're looking for is sales development representative, business development representative. It doesn't require any specific background or experience, and but an important step that a lot of people skip is referrals. So referrals are important. Hey Tom, new to the TikTok. Thanks for joining. KE Smooth. Going great. Got my ASA, crushing projects. Oh, that's awesome. ASA, for people that know, is Associate Solutions Architect. There's a bunch of different certifications you can get. So he's one of the new AWS interns. And in tech sales, you don't have to be technical, but if you get more technical, it definitely helps. And companies will have a bunch of training and certifications and stuff that you can learn on the job. Struggling to get a response with your outbound outreach. Any advice? Yeah, so outbound outreach, it's not the most intuitive thing for sure. You have to think about what types of emails and messages do you respond to yourself, right? So it kind of helps to kind of get into that mentality. And you also have to think, a lot of people are responding on mobile devices. So think about like how your messages look like on emails. You know, they're looking at the subject line. They're looking at the first sentence. That's the most important. Look at Mailshake. Mailshake has a cold email masterclass that's totally free, really great. They're one of those like email automation tools, and they have a lot of like data-based tips on how to improve your outreach. So check that out. I've done a couple videos on them. It's like excellent material. It's totally free. You're starting ad sales on Amazon. What's the potential there? Potential is great. So at any of the big tech companies, you know, pretty much your pay is determined on your level. So sales and software engineering typically pays higher, but if you can like move up the corporate ladder, the leveling system at any of these other companies and other roles, you know, that's going to be a bigger determining factor on your overall pay potential than the actual job role itself. Struggling to understand all my clients' different technologies, obviously not an expert. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an issue. So when you first get started, you're going to be on these meetings. There's going to be all these different technologies and terms that you're going to hear that you're not familiar with. It just takes time. You know, it's normal to take 6 months, even up to 12 months, depending on how complex it is, to like really feel comfortable. So don't worry, just take a lot of notes. That's what I did when I first started. Is I would do audio recordings of like calls, and I would jot down notes and terms that I wasn't familiar with, and I would research it afterwards just to get up to speed. That actually really helped me kind of ramp as fast as I could. Did I quit tech sales, or did I still work? I still work. I still do. I thought about doing content stuff and real estate investing full time, but for now, still gonna do the main W-2 job as well. Do I do cold calling? Who am I cold calling? I don't cold call right now, but usually it's actually more of like warm calling. So you're not calling like random people out of a phone book, for example. You're targeting companies that have a strong potential of being a good fit for your product. And then also you're sometimes like following up on people who downloaded a webinar, downloaded a white paper, attended a conference. So it's not just like cold calling like in other roles. it's very targeted. And then also, it's not just calling. You do a lot of like emailing and LinkedIn messages. How much work from home? It's all work from home, at least for me. It depends. Some companies, they want you to be more in office, but traditionally in sales, past the entry-level role, it has always been like a work from home role, because you're either at home in your home office or you're traveling out to customer sites. And then the other thing too is, past the entry-level role, you get assigned like specific territories, and usually they want reps to be like close to their customers in their territory, so that way they don't have to travel very far. And most companies don't have offices in like every city, right? So for that reason, sales has always been like a pretty much remote job. With the current climate and the economies, it's still great to get into tech sales. Yeah, I mean, just like investing, you can never like time the market. Honestly, until companies do a full hiring freeze, which most of them haven't, it's still great to get in. But I mean, it's not something that you can like really bank on, right? So I wouldn't like hold out for anything. Personally, I don't think we're going to see a big crash. Is South Florida ever going to have a good scene for tech sales? Probably not, honestly. So I mean, usually for tech sales, you have to think about where the customers are, right? So they're dispersed across the country. You have a lot of them on the West Coast, a lot of them on the East Coast, and then Central is pretty dispersed. Usually on East Coast, a lot of the big companies, they're around like New York City, Boston. West Coast, San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles, and so on, and then up in like Seattle. So the central region is kind of dispersed, but for that reason, usually when companies have like a big sales office on the East Coast, it's usually near New York City. I don't think we'll ever see like a ton in Miami, although Florida does have customers. Most big companies, they do have Florida as a sales territory, but you'll be like a remote rep. 3 months in, struggling with booking meetings. Any advice? Yeah, so if you're struggling booking meetings, first thing I would look at is, what's your volume look like? Are you putting in the right amount of calls and emails to get those meetings? How does it compare to your colleagues? It is like a numbers game at the end of the day. You can write the most perfect emails, have the perfect call scripts, but if you're not having enough at-bats, then you're just not, like, the results aren't going to come there. So start with activity first, make sure you're hitting those numbers, and then optimize after that. Should you continue at VP as sales dev or become an AE? AE comp sounds much higher. Honestly, yeah, I mean, inside sales does have a cap, right? I mean, you've probably seen this, right? As a VP of like inside sales or sales dev, it's going to be pretty hard to do an internal promotion from that to like a field sales manager. You pretty much have to go to an AE level, get that frontline experience, and you'll likely make as much, if not more, as like an enterprise AE. Have you ever seen a UK salesperson succeed in US tech sales? Can you switch companies? Yeah. When I was at Google, I had a few colleagues that they actually did internal transfers. They went from Amazon, or sorry, they went from one of like the Europe offices. So I think one of them, he went from Berlin, and then he transferred to Austin. So what's the typical KPIs for BDRs? It depends. The typical KPIs can vary. I mean, it depends on the product. It depends on the sales cycle. It could be 40. It could be 60, depending on how transactional the sales is. And it could be 20. Account exec versus sales engineer, thoughts? I've done both. So account executives, you have a little bit more control over your destiny, right? Because you're in control of your territory, as opposed to a sales engineer. Sometimes you're at the mercy of the sales rep. You earn more commission. Typically you'll earn 2 to 3 times as much commission as the sales engineer, and you'll get higher accelerators and higher bonuses. Oh, hey, Chris. And then, but the downside is there's more pressure on you. There's more administrative stuff you got to do, more reporting, dashboarding. If you don't hit quota for consecutive quarters, you're going to be the one in the spotlight. The sales engineer is one step removed, so typically they're not the one to blame. So there's a bit more security there. So it kind of depends. The other thing too with the sales engineer is a great role too. Like if you want to be more technical, and also like if you struggle with like executive functioning, like if you're not like a great self-starter, if you're not like super proactive with scheduling and getting projects done ahead of time, then sales engineer could be a good fit too, because it's a bit more of a reactive role. Like you're going on to meetings with your account executive. You don't really have to worry about following up with customers for the most part, like proactively. So very different day to day, but you're still on the sales team. You're still selling. I've enjoyed both. For me, it depends on, it's not just the difference of the company or the role, but also the company, because a sales engineer could be doing two very different things at different companies if it's a more technical product or not. Would you recommend moving if you get a tech sales job? Yeah, I mean, if you are starting as an SDR and you have the option of relocating to like a centralized sales office where there's going to be other SDRs or BDRs, I would absolutely recommend moving. You're going to learn a lot more, especially just starting out your first, 1 to 2 years. If you're surrounded by other peers that are in the same boat, it just makes it so much easier to collaborate. You're going to get more exposure to sales leadership. The promotion from an SDR to AE can be a little political sometimes too. So if you actually are there in person, it's only gonna help you for the most part. Why do I have nail polish on? So it's my 4-year-old. She had her. She just turned 4 last Saturday, or is it 2 Saturdays ago? And then she guilted me into going for the mani pedi. So she picked out the color. We all got it matching. I did a little video, vlog style video on YouTube if you want to check it out. Yeah, I mean, I ended up getting like a ton of compliments, which is kind of funny, but I don't think I'll keep it up because, obviously it's just extra work. Any tips for presentation interview? Yeah, so in a presentation interview, so it's an interview, right? So it's like a mock presentation. The main thing that they're looking for what's your presence in a presentation? How well do you manage questions, follow-up questions? How well do you manage the agenda? So, I mean, you're probably already really prepared, but make sure you start off with a clear agenda, introductions, get introductions from the customer side. Don't just go through the whole presentation. Ask a lot of clarifying questions throughout it. If the customer asks, the mock customer, if they ask a question that you don't know an answer for, you don't need to make up an answer. Just say you don't know, but you'll follow up. Make sure you write it down. And then at the end of the presentation, you'll wrap up, talk about next steps, and then make sure you circle back and say that you'll follow up on those questions. And then finally, also ask for like a time, for the next meeting. Is it better to send out a bunch of applications, try to get referrals? I would say both. I mean, you should definitely be getting referrals. These entry-level positions in any industry are always competitive, right? So, meaning that there's a lot of applicants. So you need to, unless you went to like an Ivy League school, right, where they do a lot of internal recruiting from those schools, you really need to get a referral to help stand out. It's replaced what the cover letter used to be. What am I eating? This is from Do Right Donuts. Love Do Rights. I was gonna post a picture. I got their donuts and stuff there. Yeah, we got donuts. So this is fried chicken sandwich. Their chicken is so good. They don't freeze their chicken. It's like fresh chicken. And then I've got bacon and some special mayo and whatever. And their fries are great too. Would you recommend having a cover letter? Honestly, I wouldn't spend time on a cover letter. If anything, like your LinkedIn and the referral kind of replaces the cover letter. So like that bio description at the top of your LinkedIn profile, that's when you can kind of talk about like your aspirations, your career aspirations, your physical traits, and then why you would be good for a sales role, right? So you can use that section. That's essentially kind of like the cover letter. What tech do I sell? I sell the cloud right now. Just got promoted to SDR. Congrats, man. How many people hit OT on my team? I think last year, so we do, yearly quotas. I think like 80% hit OTE, which was pretty good. But, last year and the year before was kind of like, special years, right? The year before, not many people hit OTE because, COVID slowed down most companies on their cloud spend. And then the following year, they held back quota because we weren't expecting the economy to bounce back quickly. So a lot of people exceeded quota. So why am I skipping your questions? I get a lot of questions, so sorry if I skipped it. If you want me to really prioritize your question, make sure you sub. If you sub, I prioritize all the questions for my subs. You get a little badge. You'll get access to sub-only lives. It's like $5 or something. They just rolled it out. But yeah, apologize. There's I can only get to so many questions. Cloud services, Azure, AWS. Yeah, I do. Right now I'm at AWS, and then I've also sold Google Cloud Platform, GCP. Been struggling to get a referral. Yeah, I mean, you got to treat getting that referral, getting that first job, you got to treat it like sales itself. You got to sell yourself. Don't ask for the referral right away. You have to, you got to think about it like a prospect, right? You're not going to just go ahead and send them a contract right away. That's essentially what the referral is. You need to find some way to relate with the prospect, relate with the referral, right? Maybe you liked one of their recent posts. Maybe the best case would be they went to the same school as you, right? Alumni network, definitely utilize that. Maybe they went to the same hometown. You got to get kind of creative in terms of who you're deciding to follow up with to ask for a referral. PSG, thanks for the panda, the mic, and the dinosaur. What's a tech sales entry-level position? Entry-level position is going to be sales development representative, business development representative. Those are the entry-level roles. They might have different titles, but for there's a bunch of different titles that you might see, but those are the most common that you'll see. How do I time block? Honestly, I probably should. I know a lot of people that do, but my method has been just figuring out at the beginning of the day what are the top 3 things I really need to work on. I'll focus on getting that done. Anything else I can get done, I'll get to it if I can. Do you see fear in the market due to inflation? I haven't seen too much, honestly. Does it have to be with someone on the sales side, or can it be someone, an engineer? Preferably on the sales side. Even better if you can get it from the sales manager. That's probably the best referral. But if it's a big tech company, for example, it actually really doesn't matter too much where it comes from. MCG, you worship me. Thanks for the follow-up. Thanks for being a supporter. Thoughts on Fed sales? So Fed, state, local, that's SLED. I don't have too much experience. I've always been on the commercial side, but from what I've heard, some of the main differences, at least from what I've seen personally, the deals can take longer. You have to be more, you're going to spend a lot more time on the RFP process. So there's a bit of there's more red tape that you kind of have to go through. But I know a lot of people that have for example, former military background, they actually end up gravitating towards there because they're able to kind of use their prior military experience as a means to kind of prospect into their customers. So do you do your own prospecting as an AE? I know Trent does, but nobody. Yeah, I mean, I do, but not that much. On my end, I only manage 2 accounts, so it's a little different in my boat. So on my end, for example, I don't really have SDRs do much because the volume is very low, and every touch needs to be deliberate. I wouldn't really necessarily want a rookie SDR messaging the wrong person with the wrong product and everything like that. Do I do my own nails? No, this was done at a salon with my 4-year-old too, and they did the toenails too. Just funny. Be honest, what time do I start working? It depends. So I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, usually, I get up 7. That's about when my daughter wakes up. So I'm forced to wake up, and then do some of the family stuff, until 8 or 8:30, and then I'll usually start chugging along at that point. But I usually don't have customer meetings or anything until 10 a.m. my time. New business, well, am I married? Yeah, married. So in cloud, there's not as big of a distinguishment between existing business and new business, mostly because even when you sign on a big customer, it takes them time to ramp up their spend on the cloud. They have to migrate things over, and there's a lot more that goes into it, as opposed to just like signing a contract. So yeah, this is Do Right. Yeah, Do Right's great. So yeah, so it's a bit more involved. So for that reason, your quota actually goes up every year too, based on the accounts. 1 month at Microsoft. Made the jump. Congrats, man. Microsoft's great. How you transition from hardware to software, currently AM for Apple? It's tough. I remember I made that jump. It was a big jump in pay, but I applied a bunch of different positions. You need to think about, try to be kind of specific in terms of what aspects of the hardware sale can you leverage. Like for me, there was actually ended up being a good amount of overlap with cybersecurity and the hardware that I was selling before. So I utilized that and I focused on startups and made that pivot there. When does the course start? So the wait list is still open. I think they're still editing. Actually, I still have one more week of videos I need to shoot. I'm probably going to shoot those today. But we're looking to do the actual launch in about 3 weeks, and it's free. So for those that are interested, the course is totally free. The wait list is in my description. Goal for net worth to retire. So, I mean, it depends on a couple things. One, what do you consider retiring? And then two, I mean, that's really the main goal, main question. But for me, personally, with passive income and rentals, I could retire right now if I wanted to. But I have my conservative net worth goal is about 10 million, which I think is definitely doable. And then my stretch goal is 100 million, but that's going to really depend on if and when I finally do launch my startup, and then how well that grows. But if you can get your startup to unicorn status, which honestly isn't super uncommon anymore as it used to be, I think you can hit that 100 million number. But you have to be a founder for the most part to hit that. Can we do another Chicago get together? Yeah, actually, I need to schedule one. Maybe I'll put it out for next week or something. Is it hard to get into? Yeah, I mean, in most jobs, the first job is the hardest to get, for sure. What space would my startup be in? I like cybersecurity. I actually really enjoyed working in that industry. There's so much potential there. I saw firsthand how a lot of companies were running their cybersecurity practices, and it's atrocious. And it's only going to be a bigger and bigger priority. The big problem within that space is just knowing how to filter through all the noise from all these different tools. So I like the risk analytics space. Am I working today? Yeah, I'm doing work today. I'm actually taking off the whole week from the main job, but I'm working on the other stuff too. How do you get into sales engineering? So for sales engineering, certifications definitely help quite a bit. So as a sales engineer, they expect you to be kind of the technical expert. Not you're not going to be a coder, but you need to relevant I would say identify a specific vertical that you want to get into, whether that be cloud, cybersecurity, and then go for the relevant certifications there. So for me, with cyber, the first one I got was the Security Plus. And then I was studying for the CISSP, but never ended up taking that. Do you have any advice for someone applying? Been applying for a few weeks. So here's the tip. Don't just apply. You need to get referrals. Especially nowadays, referrals are super important. So also, if you've applied for, let's say, 50 positions and you haven't gotten any responses back, you probably need to work on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is completely filled out. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I did a subscriber only LinkedIn review, and I was doing it live on here. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, make sure you subscribe to my profile. I'm going to be setting up a schedule, and I'm basically going to be doing like these mini sessions only for subs where you can do. So it's going to be multiple parts. It'll be, LinkedIn prep, resume prep, interview prep, maybe even a mock interview session. I'm gonna spread those out. Like we'll do it every other day. Do I use any resume services? Yeah, I've only personally used Resume Assassin. Mary, it's run by Mary Southern. I used her the first time I used her was like 4 years ago, and then I used her again like a year ago, and she did awesome. She has a lot of experience. She used to be a recruiter. She knows exactly what they're looking for. She has a lot of experience with sales resumes. How much money do I make just through TikTok? Just through TikTok, I think it's tracking right now for about like 200. That's through like, several different things. The ad revenue just through TikTok isn't great. So it's pretty much all from sponsorships and stuff. Can you cover that in private coaching? Yeah, absolutely. So I don't do too much private coaching, and I prefer to do more open, group stuff, but you can definitely do that. It's priced relatively high, but it's reflective of, how much I actually earn hourly. So for me, it doesn't make sense to, like, I see some people do like hourly coaching for $50 and it just wouldn't make sense. That's just trading time for money for me. And also like you're only, reaching out to one person. So, but if you're interested, the sign up for that is in my bio. Am I a millionaire? Yeah, net worth is over $1 million for sure. A lot of that is actually from real estate. Like my one property alone, just one of them, I bought it in 2017 for $545. Now it's worth like $1.4 million. So like from that alone, I only put 3% down. It's incredible. Put $30K down. I paid, $3,500 a month for 4 years. And then just from that alone, I'll have almost $1 million in equity. So I'm going to be doing a HELOC on that to pull some of that out. Do I have a degree? You don't have to have a degree. It helps, but if you don't have a degree, I certainly wouldn't go back and go get your degree. Not just because of the cost, but from the time perspective. Like 4 years of your time is a huge time investment. I certainly wouldn't go back. And the only other time I would get it, the only other time I would get like an advanced degree or something too is if like your employer pays for it. Like I got my MBA just because Google paid for like 2/3 of it. So it was only like $5,000 out of pocket for my MBA. So it's kind of no brainer. How to get started with no experience, literally Google entry-level tech sales. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get started, look at my playlist, get into tech sales playlist. It's in my profile. I have like a bunch of like videos that kind of break it down step by step. But at a high level, the position you're looking for is sales development representative, business development representative. If you just Google entry-level tech sales, you're probably going to see a lot of like boot camps. You don't really need to do a boot camp. Top companies to get started. Look at RepView. I'm going to do a video on them. I've done a few on them. They're like Glassdoor, but for tech sales organizations. And they rate what are the top rated tech sales organizations based on leadership, product market fit, culture, percentage of reps hitting quota. You should join RepView's leadership team. I'm actually an advisor on their team. So yeah, we started I started the partnership with them back in September, and then so actually I do some advising for them. Darren and Ryan are great, and I might end up doing some more with them on their social side. But great product for sure. Nothing out there on the market right like that I've really seen. Glassdoor is great for companies in general, but sales teams are like pretty specific. And they're a lot smaller, so like a company could have a great Glassdoor rating, but they could be terrible from the sales side. So you can't log into RepView. So they told me they were supposed to be launching a feature where if you don't have any prior tech sales experience, you can get onto RepView, but they would only show you ratings for BDRs and SDRs. I'm not sure if that's been rolled out yet, but if you can't log in, maybe try a different browser. or just send me a message and I'll forward it to them. Solution engineering versus AE. Yeah, so I touched on that one. So, who's the little girl? This is my daughter, Emerson. Emerson, say hi.
Hi.
She just turned 4, which is why the nails were painted, right? People were like freaking out in the comments, which was kind of funny. But yeah, that's the story. What percentage of people become successful in tech sales? It depends on the company. And some companies I've seen like 80% of the SDRs get churned out, meaning they don't end up getting promoted and they end up leaving. Other companies I've seen vast majority of SDRs kind of get promoted and they go up through. So it really kind of depends. If you can get past that first promotion to AE, I would say vast majority of them become successful. But in terms of percentage of people that actually make that jump, pretty hard to say. But when I think back of all the SDRs that I've worked with and my former SDRs when I used to be an SDR way back when, I think they're all doing pretty good. Big shout out to Shift Group. Yeah, Shift Group is great. Shift Group, I also did some campaigns with them. They're a recruiting placement agency, and they're specific for athletes. So if you guys are former athletes or current athletes, professional or collegiate, Shift Group is, they focus specifically on placing athletes into tech sales positions. They do personalized coaching, mentoring. They have their own like program or whatever, and they work with companies specifically to place them. So that link is also in my description at TechSalesTom.com. You can click on that. So check that out. You keep getting impressive background, but we're looking for someone more aligned with the role. Interesting. So what that means is perhaps that you need to make your experiences try to make it more sales focused. That's what I would probably say. Yeah, definitely you can tailor it to match the keywords. It never hurts to modify your resume a little bit for the experiences. So you don't want to just like copy and paste the job description of like the role that you're applying for it, but you can use some of like the terms and the phrases in there for sure. Because if you've been at a job for a couple of years, there's so many different things that you can highlight, and what you choose to highlight is going to make a big difference in terms of SDR is too big of a pay cut. So as an SDR, yeah, I mean you'll make 600 or 60 to 100K your first year. So it might be a little bit of pay cut, but you don't have to quit the real estate right away. You could do it at the same time. You could probably fit the two together. I've seen a lot of people do that. And, once you get promoted to an AE, then you could maybe quit the real estate side or just keep it all together and just focus on like larger deals, right? Larger real estate deals. What does a typical sale look like? So the sale, at least on the cloud side, right? You spend time on the discovery side. So first you spend a good amount of time understanding the customer's business, their challenges. Because on cloud, there's a bunch of different products that you can sell and position. So a lot of the time is spent understanding the customer's business, right? From there, you identify what specialists would be relevant to bring in, especially on the cloud, within cloud, because there's so many products. You're not expected to be an expert at all on all those different products. You have a bunch of different resources that you can pull in. So you identify what type of business development resources or product specialists that would be relevant to bring in. And then from there, then you kind of start crafting, what the proposal is actually going to look like. What are you actually going to sell them? You have to start looking at implementation and like how is the customer actually going to implement this project on the cloud? Do they have the right internal resources? Do they have partners involved? Are we going to bring in professional services? And then from there you get agreement, you sign the proposal, but you don't always do a proposal. Cloud is very self-service, so not everything is done with contracts. Sorry, my phone's getting low on battery, so I might have to cut it. So yeah, so not everything is done with contracts on the cloud. A lot of it's self-service, but then you work with like your post-sales customer success team, technical account managers to make sure that they get them on there. But at a high level, that's kind of what the process looks like. When am I getting the car to the strip? I don't know. To the drag strip, I would love to, but I think there's still I still gotta. There's like some electrical quirks I gotta work out on the car. I gotta get the wing mounted on there. But I've been driving it quite a bit, and I kind of thrash on it just to make sure that if there's anything that fails, I'd rather have it fail downtown versus on a highway going out 30 miles to like a car meet or something like that. What's the average starting entry-level BDR salary with zero experience? 60 to 100K. I've been seeing some SDRs get offers up to 110K with zero experience, OTE. But it depends. It depends on the area. It depends on the company. So that's when you'll use like RepView. Emerson. Great questions. So if you guys have any more questions, I'm gonna have to start walking back. If you have any more questions, feel free to message me. Again, I'm gonna be doing a bunch of like subscriber only kind of group coaching sessions. So you'll see that some of the lives you'll have to be a subscriber to comment. So if you can follow and then you click on the little star or whatever, that gives you the badge to join the TechSalesTom subscriber group. So I'm gonna be rolling out more stuff. I was just doing a bunch of messaging with a supplier in China. I'm getting some custom grass flip-flops. I'm gonna customize the whole thing for tech sales. So I bought these on a road trip. I got a ton of compliments. They're actually super comfy. And for the first 100 subs, I'm going to be doing, I'm going to give those away for the first 100. And then, but yeah, so it'll be cool. I'm going to be doing other stuff too. But can you explain what you mean by getting referrals? Yeah, this will be the last question. So last question, getting referrals. So referrals, what that just means is instead of like just applying for the job, most companies have a referral system where for most companies hiring is not easy. You would imagine it's easy, but past the entry level role, even for the entry level role, sometimes it's pretty hard to find like the right candidates, right? So they want people to refer other people to come join the company. So usually there's like a form that you fill out, and if you're an employee at a company, you know someone who you think might be a good fit for the role, you fill out this form, and it just gets your profile to the top of the application stack. That's essentially what the referral is. But yeah, I'll probably do a video on that, I think today. Are headhunters helpful in this? Yes, yeah, they are. That's another reason why it's really important to optimize your LinkedIn profile, because a lot of the positions, they're either going to be filled by referrals, internal candidates, or candidates that recruiters are finding. Vast majority of positions are not being filled by the people that are applying for these jobs. Instead, recruiters are going out and they're reaching out to people that are already employed, which makes sense. Top performing employees are already killing it in some job somewhere. So you have to like reach out, you have to sell the position to them, right? So if you're just applying for jobs cold, you're at a pretty big disadvantage. Yep, yes, my kid. Yeah, I have two. 4-year-old, and then the 1-year-old is turning 2 this Saturday. But check the vlog. I did a little vlog video for the 4-year-old's birthday, which explains the nails. You can see that. I put that on the YouTube. That's also at TechSalesTom.com. But thanks everyone. I gotta get going. Gotta record some other stuff. But hope you have a great day, and see you guys later.